I just got my hands on the brand new Flavio the Whisper BR 2.1. So previously, and I've had a couple of the 2.0 Whispers, and they're amazing triggers. Incredibly light. They go down to like 7/10 of an ounce. I do tend to run my triggers heavier now, but at one time I was running them at the lightest possible setting. And they're incredible triggers. But Flavio's son, Fabio, actually reached out to me, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago, and said that they were working on a redesign and he wanted to send me one to play with. So full disclosure, I did not pay for this trigger, but I have been a big fan of Flavio's in the past, and have no problem. You know, I paid $400 a piece for my last couple Flavios, but I do think they are totally worth it. It is a great trigger. Some of the things about the Flavio that I really like, one is the adjustment range lets you go pretty much as light as you could reasonably go without being unsafe. 7/10 of an ounce is incredibly light, and I got pretty used to shooting that. I now shoot it on the heaviest setting, which is going to be 2 ounces. But they're really, really great for that. I also like their trigger shoe design. It's not quite straight and it's not quite curved. I think it gives a really good finger pad rest on it. I do like shooting straight triggers. I really don't mind them, but I really hate heavily curved triggers. It's just not something I enjoy personally. And again, one of the really big things with Flavio is they are near bulletproof. So, you know, dirt and dust and sand and you know, things like that can get into a trigger and cause some problems. Flavios just don't seem to have that problem. But I asked him, I said, well, okay, what's the difference with the 2.1 versus the 2.0? And he said that basically in the 2.0, which pretty much was the same design as some of the other previous models, that the return lever rotated on a central bearing. And in some rare cases, it could cause that bearing to lean to one side, which could cause a little bit of a hiccup. And when this happened, what would happen is that you could feel like there was a little bit of creep in the trigger. So, you know, it wouldn't be crisp. It would kind of drag a little bit, and it would give some inconsistency in the trigger weight pull as well. And you know, he said it was very minor and it was rare occurrence, but it was something that they felt like they should address if they're going to redesign the trigger. So and I'm not an engineer, so I mean, I'm just telling you what he told me here. But in the 2.1, it's no longer possible for that return lever to kind of lean on that central bearing, because the linkage is now held together by two bearings that are on line with each other. So you can't kind of have an off angle. They're both perfectly in alignment with each other. It also allows for even less resistance, and technically this 2.1 will allow for slightly lower pull weights than even the 2.0 was, but he does not recommend it because as it was, the 7/10 was kind of stupidly low. He also made some minor improvements to the linkage geometries and the quality of the finish, both the internal and external. And I will tell you, compared to, I don't have a 2.0 sitting here, but compared to the 2.0s, the finish definitely is cleaner. You know, just the finish on it and everything, trigger shoe, all the pieces of it just definitely have a better look to them. And then some of it, he said, honestly, the changes were just made to help improve assembly and production, and you wouldn't really notice any changes. So I'm assuming that was just changes in pins or something like that inside. But other than that, I've been asked to go ahead and test one out and shoot it for a little while and give him some feedback. So I'm going to get this thrown into my gun here and see how it goes. But he does have a new improved set of instructions. He goes through really well about how to adjust it. I'll have to make sure I do a seer adjustment on it. And in fact, I will throw it in and I will just show you how to do a quick seer adjustment, or at least how I do mine. Everybody's going to probably do it a little bit differently, but the basic concept is the same. So let me get this put into my gun and I will show you how I get it seated up for the seer engagement. Here you go, trigger is installed. On the Defiance actions, it's a pin trigger. On some of your other actions, it's going to be a trigger hanger that screws on. But either way, trigger's installed. I want to go ahead and take the bolt, and I'm going to put the bolt in. It's upside down here. This adjustment right here is your seer engagement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unscrew it a little bit. Whoops. And this, it comes with a little Allen wrench if you don't have one. And so what I did is I unscrewed it about a turn, and then I'm going to go ahead and cock the gun here. Let me move this just so you can see what I'm doing with the... So the bolt's cocked, right? So the trigger is now engaged. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this clockwise until it pops the trigger. And you'll hear it. And oh, right there. Okay. So now, all right, so now I'm going to test that again. Okay, so my wrench is turning right about there. Okay, so now I'm going to back it out. I'm not moving the wrench out of the hole, but I want to test and make sure that this is repeatable. So it should pop when it hits about 7 o'clock for what you're looking at. Okay, so that one went a little bit more, so let me back it off again. And I'm just trying to get a repeatable pop on it. So it's hitting, yeah, right about there. We'll do it one more time. So it's really consistent with right there. And so then what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to back this off about a quarter turn. So that's where it is. We need to bring it to here. So we're going to back it off. So now that's about a quarter turn. Now, so I'm going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to try to slam fire it. So I'm hitting that bolt pretty hard to see if I can get the trigger to pop. Okay, so that's not going, so that's good. And then, okay, and I'm getting nice, consistent release. So yeah, so there we go. That's all there is to it. So now this thing is set up. It's safe. I'm not going to have any slam fires. I'm not going to have any problems with the seer engagement. If I wanted to, and there's instructions, but there is an adjustment for over travel here, and then behind the trigger through this hole right here, there is that's an engagement for setting your trigger pull weight. I had him set it at the heaviest setting straight from the factory, and I've tested it, so I don't need to do anything with that. But if you wanted to, you can. If you happen to be ordering these, you can actually email the company and ask them to preset the trigger for you, and then they'll send it to Bruno's that way when you go to pick it up or have them ship it to you. Or you can just adjust it yourself. But that's it. So we're going to get this out. We're going to go do some shooting with it. But I have no doubt, based on my experience with my 2.0, that the 2.1 is going to meet or exceed my needs even more than the 2.0 did. So I'm very excited. All right, well, there you go. If it's something you're interested in, now you know. Have a good one. We'll talk later.